Cool. I think it's my turn now. Dun dun dun.
Yes.
Ta-da-dun. Right. So I've been playing a game for the Amiga, which is, by the way, I think it's not next week. In fact, yeah, it is. Well, by the time this airs, it will be already gone. But there's the Amiga Kickstart in Nottingham, so I'll be there. I've been there. Hello to everyone who has seen me there. Hello. So, yeah. So I thought, let's do something from the Amiga. And I think the time is right now to talk about this game that's been in development for quite a while. It is a sequel to another two games, actually, I found out. It is a isometric, turn-based, flip-screen dungeon crawler. It is called RogueCraft for the Amiga, and it is made by Badgerpunch. Dun, dun. So, Badgerpunch studio in Norway, composed by Ricky Sickinger. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He's from Bergen, Norway, and Henning Ludvigsen. I hope I said that right, which is the artist. I think Ricky is the developer. Henning is the graphic artist. And I think for this particular project, they had help from an external guy called, I'm going to try this, Roger Lilledhall. I hope that's done
Nice.
right. I tried my best. The game at this point should be published, and it will be published by Thalamus Digital. They will publish a physical release first and a ROM later on. I have been given a review copy of the disc, so I think digital copy will come in a form of a diskette file, so ADF, and you'll play that on any emulator, I'm guessing. You can find the demo now on itch. I'll try and put the links in the show notes for this. I think let's talk really quickly about the predecessors. So this is an evolution of another couple of games that started off with a game jam. I think it was for charity, and I think it was for the Commodore 64. I'm not overly sure at this stage. I did look it up, but the brain does not work as it used to be. But it was called Rogue 4K, and I think there was like a game jam, and they had to stick into 4K the game. And this is the first iteration I think they made of RogueCraft. Well, of what is now RogueCraft. It was called Rogue 4K. After that, they made the Rogue 64, which we did talk about in one of our episodes, the 18th to be precise, the Drinking with the Donkeys episode. I had a game with it. I bought that game and I tried it, and it was surprisingly very addictive because the simple nature of it, let's say, of how it's made and how the combat works and the turn-based sort of element in it. Obviously, you can get, I think the Rogue 4K you can get for free on itch, and the Rogue 64, I think it's $4.99. I'm not overly sure right now. I paid it. I bought it last year, I think. So that's when I played that. So this is, again, natural evolution from it. So obviously, C64 was addictive. The graphics were what they were. I don't know if that's a bit of a tongue twister. And this version in particular is obviously the most shiny version because obviously the graphics have been made in sort of an isometric view. And there's some additions to the mechanics in some ways. So you have now also a choice in characters at the starting of the level. So you now you can choose between three characters, the warrior, the rogue, and the mage, and they're respectively an easy, medium, and hard difficulty. The game concept is very simple, and you basically navigate these flip screen isometric dungeon floors. And in each floor, you might or might not get an enemy. So this is all procedurally generated. So every playthrough is different from the previous playthrough, which does something about, also RNG in terms of how lucky you are with the placement of things that you find in the floors and monster layout as well. The aim of the game obviously is to get to the final floor, and to do so, basically you have to find a key and then reach a room which has the like a hatch, I think you could say in English, and with a key then you can access the next floor.
Sounds like a proper rogue game.
Yes, it's again, I think the nature of this game has come through as the addictiveness is still there, as it's very, very simple. So how does this work? So because it's how do you say, turn-based sort of game, you move, and as soon as you've moved, the enemies move as well. And it becomes, someone put it like a chess sort of game, because let's say you have a room where you have the enemies, and when you're moving, then the enemies move after you. But, for example, an attack is considered a move. So if you move into a tile, then you can't attack. So you always want to try and be the one that then has the upper hand attacking. So basically you try to maybe move away from the monsters so that the monsters move close to you first and into the adjacent tile. So then you can attack first. And that is quite tricky to pull off. And, you know, it's a very small mechanic, but it's quite interesting to try and get a grip on that and try and use it to your advantage. And not always it's possible. Funny thing of this game as well.
By the way, do all the enemies work at the same time after you? Or is there a sort of sequence?
That's a good question, to be honest. They all go after you. So it's not like a turn-based in the sense that you go, then one enemy goes, then another enemy goes. I mean, it is like that, but it's all instant. So you move, and then all the enemies move. Okay. What seemingly is at the same time, but probably it's one after the other, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah. If it's one player only anyway, it won't matter.
Yeah, it's a one player only. So, yeah. So, I was saying, yes, the funny bit of this as well, I think amongst the enemies, there is probably a joke that I do not get, but there is a chicken as an enemy all the time as well. And, you know, it hardly ever hits you, but sometimes it does. And, it's an easy enemy to kill. So there is this sort of mechanic going on, and there are some enhancements compared to the Commodore 64. So they have, for example, different tiles on the floor as well in this case. So maybe there are some tiles that are like fire pits, fire traps, and they open up on different turns. So maybe you can step on them on one turn, and then maybe if you move off them, or the next turn anyways, they open up and you can get hit. So you start off, I think, with 4 bars or 5 bars of energy. You have only 1 life. And then when you get hit, you lose 1 or more of these hearts that represent your energy. And let's say, depending on the level of the dungeon and the monster difficulty, monster level, let's say you will get hit harder and harder. Let's say if you're on a tile, maybe at the beginning, you stand on it while it's open, or you land on it while it's open because you don't calculate the number of turns before it opens again, then you get hit maybe for 1 heart. Later on, you start seeing monsters. Well, in fact, not later on. Immediately you start seeing monsters, but they get more varied as you progress down into the dungeon. So I think the first monster you encounter is obviously the chicken. Then you start encountering some sort of octopus, which is, I think, a reference to some Lovecraft. So obviously the RogueCraft, right? So
that's why the craft.
Yes. So
I can see it now.
Cthulhu,
all the tentacles.
Yes. I think the first monster you encounter is Cthulhu, which represents this sort of Lovecraftian monster. Later on, you get something that I call probably universally, I don't know, a mimic, which is like a treasure chest that is in reality not a treasure chest, but you open it because it looks like the other treasure chests that you find around, and instead of it's a monster. And then later on, so you get like a flying bats. Then you get like a wizards, and as you go on down the levels, you get more and more different enemies. Right. So let's talk very quickly about how the UI is laid out. So compared to Commodore 64, this is much clearer. Obviously, you've got loads more pixels, colors. I want to spend like a minute just to say the beautiful graphics that this guy has done.
It's really high fidelity. I would say this could be a modern retro style game. If I look at this, it's just really beautiful. Also, the animation seems.
Does it run on stock Amiga 500?
Yes, and that's I thought so. When I approached this, I run it immediately on a 1200. Think about that. I ran it on there because I thought this game must be more than 32 colors, but it's not. Believe it or not. Sorry, I don't know how he did it, but it doesn't look a stock Amiga game. It just looks beautiful. I mean, even the UI's got little reflections. I have no clue how he's done this with 32 colors. I don't, but that's what I've been told. In fact, I did run it on a stock Amiga 500. I think it's got some requirements in terms of RAM. I think you have to have 1 meg of slow, 1 meg of cheap and fast. I don't really remember that right now, but it works on a stock Amiga 500. Just very impressive. For me, it's very impressive. Even when you switch, I said it's a flip screen, right? So every time you exit the room gets, I don't know, for lack of a better word, undrawn. And sometimes it gets undrawn in a curtain sort of way. So it goes away from, I don't know, left to right. Sometimes it goes away in a spiral. So those are little touches here that are really cool. And also the background to the tile to the area you're on is really, really cool as well. It does remind me a bit of Hero Quest for some reason. I have no idea, the table game, but it just drives that sort of memory for me.
Also, I think Diablo-esque.
Yes, it has that sort of Diablo as well. Yes, as well. Yeah. True story.
Yeah. To me, it reminded me also immediately of Cadaver for Amiga. Even though this is more colorful, I thought Cadaver was a little bit too gray, mostly. Mm-hmm. And I like these sprites very much anyway. The monsters are really, really nice.
Yeah, it's very,
I
very
also
good.
really love the animation. It really looks good. I think that's the thing which brings this game alive.
Yes. This guy really knows his pixels.
Yeah.
It's got I think influences a bit from again Bitmap Brothers in some way. I always see that when I see the orange text, the reflections on things, like nice stuff. I can't get over it that it's only 32 colors. Even though I'm looking at a screenshot now, I just think this is more than 32 colors, and it's not. So I don't know how they did it. At any rate, let me just go over the UI a little bit. So you've got health at the top left, and you've got your strength. We'll get into that in a little while. You've got your score at the top, and then you've got your mini map. If the listeners are familiar with the Asta Bros game that we reviewed, it's a very similar sort of mini map. So you've got little boxes that represent the areas that you visit of the floor, and then they get populated as you explore them. It doesn't show really what's in them, but it shows you where when you approach one that's got an exit, then it'll have a square inside, but it'll tell you which areas you have not explored yet, so you can go back and have a look at them if you're missing them. On the bottom, you've got your inventory, which is accessed very smartly by holding space, and then you can move your joystick on the item that you want to use. And once you let go of the space, it will activate that element that you want to use. And the effect of that will be displayed in the lower right of the screen. And usually it has some time associated to it. But there are different items that you can get and use, and one of them is a key, so you have to find the key for the exit. You don't know where this key is. It might be on the floor, it might be held by a monster, might be once I think I found it in a chest, So you have to explore the dungeon to find the key. Sometimes you're really lucky, you find it immediately, as in, again, RNG sort of thing. Sometimes you have to kill everything and to find it. So that's my experience, at least. So again, the UI is very well laid out, leaving all the space for action in the middle, and it's, again, incredibly good. I think you have about 5 slots to fit in inventory, and then you have to make space, otherwise you can't pick stuff up anymore.
Okay, so you're forced to use those.
Yes, you're forced to use stuff. On the ground, on the floor, you find different objects. So you can find hearts, which will replenish your energy. You find some other items that I did not identify, but for example, they will increase your maximum health. So you'll go beyond afterwards 5 hit points. And I don't know up to what the maximum is. I think I've got up to 6 or 7, if I recall correctly. Then you find something that are resembling to diamonds or gems, something, and those will increment your strength. So what does that mean? So let's take, for example, like a battle. So to battle, as I said, you have to be on an adjacent, this is a very difficult word for me, adjacent tile to the monster. When you get there, you press into the direction of the monster, and then it will instead of perform an attack if the monster's there. As soon as you've done that, the monster will most probably attack back, so it will have its go. So that's how, let's say, a battle works. It's very simple to actually do. It's probably more difficult to explain. It's so simple, and that's why it's so engaging. So you maybe just keep it pressed, and it just does the battle for you. And you have an RNG there. So in the beginning, you hit for 1 hit point, and you start learning that, for example, the Cthulhu monsters have 2 or 3 now, I don't remember now, but hit points. But the point being is you get used to how many hit points they have, so you know how many times you have to hit them before they die. And the chicken has 1 hit point, as you'd imagine. So as you gather these diamonds, you'll notice that it takes less of your hit to kill one of the enemies. So obviously for the chicken, it's always going to be 1, but the Cthulhu maybe goes in 2 hits or in 1 hit later on, and so you become more strong. And this is particularly useful and necessary in the later levels because obviously the monsters have more hit points and they have different tactics, and so later on, when you, for example, you find the the mimic, which is the chest that looks like a normal chest. That is also another item that you find in the area that has gold inside. Then that takes a lot of hits if you've only got 1 strength. So you need to actually go around and find these gems, which is sort of a double-edged sword in a way, because when you're looking for this diamond, then you encounter more monsters. And it's not always that you find these hearts to help you out. So I found that even the easy difficulty for me was, quite challenging. I think, clicked into this sort of chess-like mechanism towards the end of my experience, where I was actually trying to make them come on my tile before me, so I could attack them first. And
isn't there a way to just avoid combat?
Yes,
I played these kind of games before, and sometimes it's just better to just avoid a lot of combat and find the bits and pieces you need, and then continue on. It's easy to think, okay, I'll just kill everything, but sometimes in these kind of games, you just have to be the better man.
I think it depends. I think it depends in a turn-based game. I think it depends on whether there are any monsters that can move faster than you. Is that the case in this game?
So far, I have not seen them. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there must be. I've got to the wizards, so I've got to level 3.5, and I think it was 3. And there was wizards inside, and those were very, very hard. But I don't recall them going more than 1 tiles, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be that case. Still, you can avoid. So that makes the
difference because if everyone moves at the same speed as you, then it is possible to outmaneuver them on the map. Well, not always possible, but you might be able to have them follow you and move around them and get to the exit of the door or the door on the other side or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if there are monsters that can move 2 tiles instead of 1, that's another matter that might be impossible to avoid.
I also don't know if they can follow you to another screen.
They cannot. Okay. They don't follow you.
Can you lure them into those traps?
Didn't work for me. I've never been able to. So I don't know. They never went in the traps. So that's a good question. I've never. I wouldn't even know how to do that, to be honest. I don't know. That's a good question. I want to try. I need to try that out and see if we can lure them in the tiles or something. That'd be really interesting if that works. But I want to just say, I am not sure 100% of this. So maybe I'm wrong. So it's my assumption that there are monsters that move more than 1 tile. So I don't recall, but I suppose they are. Okay, so I'm not sure 100%.
Probably later on, maybe.
But what happens later on is that you get not only 1 monster in an area, you start getting 2 or 3. So that then ramps up the difficulty that way. Okay. So the thing is as well, because of the RNG sort of nature of these levels as well, and you really, really need to get those gems. Sometimes, and you don't find the gem. Maybe sometimes the monster's got the gem. Or, I don't know, appears the gem when you've killed the monster. That's happened to me, I think, a couple of times. So if you haven't found the gem and haven't found the key, then you can't really skip the monsters. You need to kind of go and kill them because maybe they'll drop the thing that's missing. At least that's my understanding of it. So yeah, sometimes if you've already got the key and you want to go out, and you've got also the gem, then it makes sense to avoid the combat altogether if you can. If not, you have to go back. At least that's what I found myself doing. So maybe I didn't understand properly the mechanics, but it seemed to me that sometimes the monsters or the chest had the key or had the gem, or sometimes the gem just appeared. Yeah. It was so I didn't really understand that, but I felt that I had to go back and say I didn't find this. I explored everywhere, so I go kill the monsters, and then here's the key, and that's how I went through the levels really. So sometimes I did, sometimes I wanted to skip, as you said, and that makes sense.
And is there another reward to kill enemies, for example, gold or something?
Sorry, another what? A reward for killing? No, not that I've noticed. Maybe points, but I think that's just gold. So you get the gold, you get the points.
And what can you do with gold?
Nothing. It's just points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So yeah, but that's a design choice, right? So.
Yeah, I would expect some kind of shop to get better weapons or something.
Maybe the next iteration.
Upgrades in between levels or something like that. That you can start at this next level with with more heart. So I don't know.
I think that you get on, you can get the extension of the heart. You can get, the strength that goes up. So if you find these gems, the strength increases. So you got that mechanic that helps you through in a sort of more, as you said before, in your previous game, like this will help you progress easily. Yeah. And as you said, then the first monsters just get pushover. Once you got 4 or 5 strength, you come back. I don't know if you can come back to the first level. I don't think you can, but if you'd come back to the Cthulhu, for example, would probably go down in 1 hit instead of 3 or 2, whatever it is now. So there's that sort of thing. But maybe later on, I did wonder myself if they were going to implement something like this in the Amiga version, but maybe later on, when maybe there's going to be another iteration of RogueCraft, it's going to be called something else, and maybe they have a shop, and then there's a, I don't know, who knows.
It would make sense if you can find gold that you can also spend it on something. But
yeah, so yeah, you're right.
I have a couple more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So okay, well, one thing maybe I didn't catch this if you said it. So you said that you only have a single life in this game.
Yes.
So if you get to a higher level in gameplay, can you then start from that level, even if it's going to be different because it's procedurally generated? Or do you always have to restart from first level?
when you die, you start from first level.
Okay.
And then you build up again to...
Yeah.
It doesn't have, like, say, a roguelike thing that persists throughout the levels that I've noticed, at least. So, yeah. Another couple of things. There are secrets that I have not found, but apparently, when you finish... In fact, when you die as well, when you die, it tells you how many secrets you've found. But I have not found any up to now. So I'm interested to see probably secret areas. Probably you need to go bash against the wall. Maybe there are some walls that have some cracks, but I've never tested them at this point. But it would be interesting to see what people find. I haven't found it yet. So
anyway, another question is, so you can choose different characters, and I can see there's a fighter, a rogue, and a wizard, and it says at the intro of the game that fighter is easy, rogue is medium, and wizard is hard. But they also have different abilities. Like the rogue is said to have teleport abilities, and the wizard shoots magic missiles. So apparently can strike from the distance, I suppose. So how is the fighter easier? Is it tougher, has more health, more strength? Because it doesn't have any special ability, the fighter, but it says at the beginning of the game that fighter is easy, rogue is medium, and wizard is hard.
Yes. It's a good question. I should have played it more. I played the wizard because I wanted to understand. Let's have a go at hard. I died quicker, but but I didn't see any ability to shoot missiles. That's the thing. I still had to go on the tile and hit, and maybe again I missed something there.
Maybe you can unlock that a bit later or something.
Let's leave this question open, and I will look a bit more into this, and I will give you, Guido, this bit of content that I'm missing because I did not. I tested the rogue, but and I tested them both, but I didn't see any difference, to be honest. Maybe just the number of hearts you start off with. Maybe that was it. I don't remember now. But I played mostly with the warrior.
Maybe different strength and different hearts. Your starting hearts are lower, maybe a little bit more strength. I don't know.
But that's what I would expect, because otherwise the other two have something extra compared to the fighter. So the only way I see that the fighter would be an easier play is if it has more strength and health. There is also something that I see, that those potions have different functions.
Yeah.
In different
games.
So if you start the game, then they do something different. Do you have to discover what they do by trying?
Yes, you have to discover. It's always like a gamble. You'd never know what you're going to get. So sometimes, for example, you get a red potion and it restores your energy. And sometimes you get the same red potion in another run, and maybe that just clears the room of all the enemies. Another time, maybe you get the same potion and does nothing. Another time, you get the same potion and it inverts all your directions. It says, you feel dizzy or something. So you can. It's very well done. It's very well done. I really like it. So there are elements that also you consume as soon as you touch, such as the heart and some upgrades, things like strength, stuff like that. It consumes immediately. And some of the things that you end up sticking in your inventory and having to use. But because of the nature of it, like especially in the harder levels, it's really, you really don't know what you're going to do. You're kind of like, if you've already got 3 monsters and then all of a sudden you say, I'm going to use this potion that inverts all my directions, then what happens then, if you're surrounded by those monsters and you want to combat them, you might end up, moving away from them instead. And it becomes really tricky at higher levels because of how more delicate the situation becomes and how more reliant on precision and crafted movements that you want to have.
Oh, nice. And how long does a run take when you play it?
I think it takes, so not my experience, but I've been told it 30 to 40 minutes you have a complete run, and you can finish it quite easily. Not quite easily, but that's not my experience. Absolutely, I've not been able to go past level 3.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you make all the right decisions, then you get then it takes 40 minutes to beat it.
Yeah, that's the gist. But in my experience, I've played it nearly 2 hours, and I couldn't get past level 3. Played it with my son as well, so we had a go. Just very hard for me because there are not as many energy replenishments, for example, and then it becomes RNG as well. So when you're actually attacking an enemy, whether you land the hit or not, I think it's a dice roll. So you might push in the direction, and it will swing his sword, but then maybe it doesn't hit for 3 times. It goes empty, and same goes for the monster. So sometimes you're really unlucky, and as you go further down the level, then for example, Cthulhu will hit you for 1, I think, and then as you progress down the level, I think the relic or mimic, what's it called, the chest will hit you for 2 hearts at a time, and then the wizard, I think, hits you for 3 or something ridiculous. It just becomes very hard as you progress. So you really need those strength elements as well to go further down. And also you need to be lucky because, sometimes you need to strike 3 times in a row and then to miss in order for you to keep hold of all your hearts. You need the right combo of being lucky in the battle and also being lucky in how the hearts are laid out in the dungeon, and then you can probably succeed then. But most times I've not been very lucky, so I've not been able to progress much further.
Maybe if you know how to find those secrets, that the game gets easier.
So maybe you're right. You're right.
Interesting. It looks beautiful.
It is very good. The sound is good. So the music's really nice, but maybe my only gripe, it is beautiful music. It's just like maybe not what I'd expect on a dungeon crawler. That's all. It's that's all that I could say. The Amiga tracks are really good, but maybe I don't know,
bit too upbeat or maybe something.
Yeah, like that. I would say that maybe because I'm a bit biased because from Diablo and those sort of dungeon crawlers where you just hear atmospheric noise and create the atmosphere. Here, it's music, but it's very good music. It's very nice. It's just like, maybe just contributes a little bit to take you out of the atmosphere a little bit, but I can't really fault it too much. But that would be, let's say, my only gripe on this game. It's just like maybe the atmosphere could have been tweaked just a little bit better, and that's it, to be honest. The sound effects are also good. The swishing of the sword, the monster and the sounds, really nice stuff. So all in all, definitely worth a go, this game. Depending on the price, obviously, I don't know because we're recording this early, so I don't know what the price is going to be when it releases.
There's already a store I've seen.
Oh yeah, okay.
On Thalamus.shop.
Yes, Thalamus is the publisher. Yeah.
There's a pre-order, and it says it's £20 for the standard edition, with a CD32 compatible CD, and it's £30 for a deluxe edition, and there's a £45 edition. So I think it's fair. £20 doesn't sound like a lot for a physical version in a box.
No. I agree. I think it's fairly priced as well. So yeah, good job on them. Yeah, it's good. I'm quite enthusiastic about this game, and I really would like you guys to try it as well because it's a really simple game. So you don't really, there's not such. It can be difficult if you want to go the chess route. So you try and get the enemies to land on your spot and try to be evasive and really good. But other than that, there's not too much thought into it. It's luck, and the combat system is very engaging. So I think you should. Definitely give it a go because you'll get hooked.
Yeah, I like these kinds of games. I'm very terrible at them, but I like them. And it looks beautiful. So, and I like Cthulhu style games, obviously like Quake. So,
yeah.
Nice. Good. And I've seen a sort of boss battle even in the trailer, so that's interesting. Like a big,
I haven't reached a boss battle. I wish I would. I was going to try.
A tentacle monster out of the ground. So interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we should continue on to the news.
Yeah, take a break first.
Tomorrow evening.
I think, as I mentioned, I had time until 3, which is 40 minutes now, but now I have to make lunch.
Yeah, I also have to go then. So I also have to eat and
then I will have a meet. At least I would have a meeting until 4, which is 2 UK.
It's okay. I've got a meeting at 2 as well, so it's.
I think we can record the rest tomorrow evening before we do the Pio Pao thing.
Yes.
So maybe wrap this up in like half an hour and then an hour Pio Pao, and then we're done, right?
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Yeah. Stopping.